All right, Shalom. First and foremost, all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Warakakodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone. Salutations to all you true, sincere brethren out there, pushing out this purified truth, cleansing this wicked, defiled kingdom with this word, and to the rest of the church who believe as well, including you few women. The water to Yahweh Shai, because without him enduring and going to that cross, none of this would even be possible whatsoever. All right? So this is Elder Apostle Tahar's page, which is called What is the 666 Mark? And he had posted up a video and he titled it, One of Vocab Malone's Fellow Apologists' View on Jesus Being a Black Man. Now, being the scoffer that he is, he's always going to try to find loopholes, always trying to wiggle his way out of a situation. Now, one of his fellow apologists, as the title says, pretty much makes a statement, and he says, well, what if he believed that Jesus was black? Would that be okay? Now, deep down inside, Vocab Malone knew that offended him. Like, how could you say that? You're supposed to be down with me. Why would you say that? But he never mentions the confusion of face, how there are Israelites out there who look just like the so-called white man, who look just like the so-called Chinese man, who look just like the so-called Arab man, who look just like the so-called African man. All right? Because what we're involved in, this isn't about color. The reason why, today race is divided by color goes back to a man named Johann Blumenbach. Now, when you look up Johann Blumenbach, he was a German scientist. Now, because of him, race has been divided by color. Now, that's not the case according to the scriptures. Now, we know primarily that the so-called Africans, the so-called Egyptians, all right, we know that they were dark-skinned men. They had melanin. They were melanated. In fact, all people back then were melanated, except for Esau. But anyways, I'm going to play this video.
To see really who they are, and kind of they'll be like, this book, well, this is about you. You know Paul? Yeah. You know Moses? Black like you. Look at your skin. Black like you. Know Jesus? Black like you. Well, what makes you say that? Well, I never heard that. Didn't Moses live with the Egyptians for a number of years and was mistaken for an Egyptian? Wasn't Paul once mistaken for an Egyptian in the book?
Is that not true? Was Moses not mistaken for an Egyptian? Is that not true? Wasn't Paul also mistaken for an Egyptian? Was that not true? Hell, even Joseph, who was sold into captivity by his brethren, he was even mistaken by an Egyptian. Because when they had went into Egypt and they saw Joseph, they didn't even realize it was their brother. They considered him to be an Egyptian. Okay? So at the end of the day, if you don't have common sense, 2 plus 2 is not 4 to you. 2 plus 2 is whatever you make it. You have to know something called extrapolation. So if something is not giving you the exact known value, you calculate. Okay? You ever heard of estimation? You have to realize context clues. So if the Egyptians were dark-skinned people and Moses was considered an Egyptian, he was mistaken for an Egyptian, what would that mean? I mean, these people, they fight so hard just to prove, which they're not proving at all, but in their mind, just to prove that the one you call Jesus Christ was not a so-called black man. That Moses was not a so-called black man. Or any other prophets, none of them were so-called black men. But then if somebody brings up Judas, oh, he could be black though. Okay? That's the mentality that the so-called white man, these Edomites, try to push on our people. We can't have anything. Even when you look up all the responses that you got on the game called Mortal Kombat 11 by a man named Jax, his ending, you had so many Edomites bugged out by it. Okay? And it's fictional. It's not even real. But anyway.
Of Acts, doesn't Jesus have skin that's burnt like bronze brass, or
I mean, come on. So if he has skin that's burnt brass, let's extrapolate. What would that mean? How many so-called white men have you seen walking around with black feet, with pale skin, everywhere else but they got black feet? Oh, he was walking in the mud. Shut the hell up. Because it doesn't say that. All right. It also talks about, in another scripture, another body part. It doesn't just go into his feet. If you look into the book of Daniel, it goes into another body part. But see, that's what these devils do, man. Yahweh Shai can be anything but a so-called black man.
They go down this list and someone's like, whoa, so that's how they approach it. So it's like, wake up to the fact that you're royal seed.
Would it bother them if I was like, I'm cool with Jesus being black?
Deep down inside, he knows the one the world calls Jesus Christ is a so-called black man. And I can, pretty much bet that when he said that, Vocab Malone, deep down inside, deep down in his secret parts, he was offended by that statement.
Bother them?
It depends on the camp. So some will say that's a bare bones admission. They'll say, well, good, whose foot's going to be on your neck then? Others might be like, maybe you're going to, be on the right path. So it depends on...
Yeah, it's all funny, right? It's all fun and games. Ho, 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 ho. Anyway, so I'm going to bring out a scripture to back up the point that he had made. How some people use Moses being mistaken as an Egyptian, showing that the Israelites were so-called black, as they will call it today. Let me fix something here. Let's do this. Go to the grid. All right, so this is Exodus 2:16. Now the priests of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water and filled the troughs to water their father's flock. And the shepherds came and drove them away. But Moses stood up, who was an Israelite, by the way. But Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flock. And when they came to Reuel, their father, he said, how is it that ye are come so soon today? And they said, an Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds, and also drew water enough for us and watered the flock. So why is it that his daughters looked at Moses and thought he was an Egyptian? Well, evidently Moses was dressing as the Egyptians. He was probably talking like the Egyptians because he was raised around the Egyptians. But Moses was indeed an Israelite. So if Moses was a so-called white man, and let's say he was wearing Egyptian apparel, they would have looked at Moses like, man, this nigga's bugged out. This dude ain't no Egyptian. But evidently he had the same skin complexion as the Egyptians. All right? That's why when you go to the book of Exodus, Exodus 11:7, but against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, that ye may know how that the Lord doth put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. Because there was a time where the Israelites and the Egyptians, they could be mistaken as one another. Just as Joseph was took as an Egyptian, being an Israelite. Just as Paul was took as an Egyptian, being an Israelite. So Moses, being an Israelite, he was also took as an Egyptian. So this scripture is telling you, hey, there's a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. Because your line, your race, has nothing to do with your skin tone. But primarily, yes. In them times, back in the ancient world, the Israelites were dark-skinned. But then again, all nations were dark-skinned. All nations except for one, and that nation being the nation of Edom. So thanks to Johann Blumenbach, a German physician, he separated race by colors. Because of that devil, you think that because two people having the same skin complexion, they're of the same race. Now, I know two females that I grew up with, known them all my life, literally. one of the females, I've known her so long as to, when I was a baby, my mother or her mother would have us take baths together. All right. Now she has a sister, and let me mention, they both have the same parents, but one is darker than the other. And as I've stated, they have the same parents. So there may be someone who's ignorant and would assume they're not even sisters because they really don't look alike when you look at their complexion and when you look at their facial features. But they indeed have the same parents. So I say that to say this. You can't judge somebody's race off of skin complexion, because if that's the case, everybody on earth is of the same nation but Esau. Because you even have brown Chinese people. You have brown Ishmaelites, so-called Arabs. You have brown East Indians. You have brown Japanese people. Okay? So this has nothing to do with, oh, well, if you're brown, you're my people. No. This is about the seed of your father. This is about agnate relations. This isn't about uterine relation. This isn't about, well, I'm dark brown, you're light brown, so we're different people. No. But at the same time, Moses was mistaken to be an Egyptian, because the Egyptians, just as the Israelites, were dark skinned at that time. All right. Now, when you go into the book of Acts 21, it pretty much, matter of fact, let's just get that. What's that, 21 and 17? No. Acts 21 and 37. And as Paul was to be led into the castle, he said unto the chief captain, May I speak unto thee? Who said, Canst thou speak Greek? Art not thou that Egyptian, which before these days madest an uproar, and leddest out into the wilderness 4,000 men that were murderers? So Paul was mistaken as an Egyptian, but this was Paul's response. But Paul said, I am a man which am a Jew. Who are the Jews? Primarily the Jews are Judah, but the Jews were looked at as Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Paul, he was a Benjamite, okay, of the house of Judah, all right? But Paul said, I am a man which am a Jew of Tarsus, a city in Cilicia, a citizen of no mean city, and I beseech thee, suffer me to speak unto the people. All right. So even when you go back into the time of Paul, you had men who were citizens of a certain place. It did not make that their race. Just like Paul, he was a Roman citizen, but he was not a Roman. He was a Israelite who dwelled in Rome. Okay. So Paul, he was mistaken to be a Egyptian, right? So let's go to Romans 11 and 1. And remember, there is a difference between the Egyptian and Israel. This is Romans 11 and 1. I say then, hath the power cast away his people? Who are his people? The Israelites. The power forbid. For I also am an Israelite. He is an Israelite. And who was he mistaken as? An Egyptian. What color were the Egyptians? Dark skin. For I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. Now, what's the tribe of Benjamin? Benjamin was the son of Jacob. All right. Benjamin was the patriarch of the Benjamites. Okay. So Paul, being an Israelite from the tribe of Benjamin, was mistaken as an Egyptian. So I got a video here. Let's see what color the Egyptians were. Okay. None of them look like Edomites. Come on, you can't make this up. Because you have people out there who will say, well, the Egyptians, they weren't necessarily black. The Egyptians were different people. No, the Egyptians were dark skinned, all right? They had melanin, showing you that Moses was melanated. Paul was melanated. Joseph was melanated. The Israelites were melanated. Yahushua was melanated. So you devils, you can make up all these lies. You can have every excuse in the book not to believe that this book is for the Israelites. Because this book is indeed for the Israelites. Now, you have a lot of people who try to add themselves into this thing as if they're a part of it. Let's play this video again by Vocab Malone.
See really who they are, and kind of they'll be like, this book, bro, this is about you. You know Paul? Yeah. You know Moses? Black like you. Look at your skin. Black like you. Know Jesus? Black like you. Well, what makes you say that? Well, I never heard that. Didn't Moses live with the Egyptians for a number of years and was mistaken for an Egyptian? Wasn't Paul once mistaken for an Egyptian in the book of Acts? Doesn't Jesus have skin that's burnt like bronze, brass? Or, they go down this list and someone's like, whoa, So that's how they approach it. So it's like, wake up to the fact that you're royal seed.
Would it bother them if I was like, I'm cool with Jesus being black? Does that bother them? Like, would it, like...
It depends on the camp. So some will say that's a bare bones admission. And they'll say, well, good, whose foot's going to be on your neck then? Others might be like,
let me take it back.
Egyptian in the book of Acts. Doesn't Jesus have skin that's burnt like bronze, brass? Or, they go down this list and someone's like, whoa, So that's how they approach it. So it's like, live with the Egyptians for a number of years and was mistaken for an Egyptian? Wasn't Paul once mistaken for an Egyptian in the book of Acts? Doesn't Jesus have skin that's burnt like bronze, brass? Or, they go down this list and someone's like, whoa, So that's how they approach it. So it's like,
I'm not catching it. Give me a second.
Yeah? You know Moses? Black like you. Look at your skin. Black like, Jesus? Black like you. Well, what makes you say that? Well, I never heard that. Didn't Moses live with the Egyptians for a number of years and was mistaken for an Egyptian? Wasn't Paul once mistaken for an Egyptian in the book of... And kind of they'll be like, this book, bro, this is about you. You know Paul?
There we go. So he said, this book, this is about you. Now he's saying it as if that's not the case. Okay? Now what is this book known as? Okay, before it was known as the Bible, what was this book known as? Let's go to 2 Kings. And then after this, I'm going to need to go to the Apocrypha. So this is 2 Kings 23:1. And the king sent, and they gathered unto him all the elders of Judah and of Jerusalem. And the king went up into the house of the Lord, and all the men of Judah, and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem with him, and the priests and the prophets, and all the people, both small and great. And he read in their ears all the words of the book of the covenant, which was found in the house of the Lord. So this Bible is known as the book of the covenant. Who's under the covenant? Who was under the covenant and who is under the covenant now? Okay? Well, let's keep it simple. Let's go to Hebrews 8:8. This is the book of the covenant, right? For finding fault, Hebrews 8:8. For finding fault with them, he saith, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. So the new covenant is still for Israel. The book of the covenant, the new covenant, who is it for? The house of Israel. Where are you finding this? In the book of the covenant. So if the covenant is for Israel, the book of the covenant is for Israel. Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Lord. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws in their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a power, and they shall be to me a people. So the new covenant is still for the Israelites. All right. Now, let me go to the Apocrypha. And we're going to close it out with this right here. All right. Because this book is for the Israelites only. This is our book. When you open up this book, this is about you, Negro, Latino, and Native American man, according to your father's line. This is Ecclesiasticus 24 and 23. All these things are the book of the covenant of the Most High, even the law which Moses commanded for an heritage unto the congregations of Jacob. So there you go. Who was this book for? The Israelites. The book of the covenant, the Bible, is our book. This is about you, Negro, Latino, and Native American man. So anyway, Kahala Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Lord willing, this lesson was simple and it was edifying. And until my next one, Shalom.